Hi, everyone. I'm Hildebrandt, and this is the Get Mad Show. Today, our guest is Rebecca Stair, and she is a candidate running for New Mexico's State Senate in District 20. Let's go. Well, welcome, Rebecca, to our to this episode of Get Mad.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here, and thank you for taking the time to have me on, especially given everything that's going on in the background.
Absolutely, and it's an exciting new way to introduce people to their constituents. And I would actually like you to take a minute and make yourself human. Tell people, who is Rebecca Stair?
Sure. Well, I'll start. I'll just sort of paint the picture of what you're seeing. So like everyone else, I'm at home because of COVID. The door is shut. Thank goodness there's a door, because my wife is also working from home. She's in a teleconference now at the same time, and I'm trying to block out what she's saying while I'm talking to you. Normally my cat is here and she walks across the screen with her tail like so, but thank goodness she, in her cat-like way, decided to be elsewhere. Who knows what? Like many people, I've also been laid off because of COVID. You may or may not know, but I come from the movie industry, where I was midstream on doing a really exciting all-Black Western for Netflix and campaigning at the same time. And that's shut down, but it's been a wonderful silver lining for me, because it's allowed me to level the playing field and campaign full-time for the past month. And when I'm not scouting locations and doing movies, I like to read, I like to meditate. I'm a triathlete, not a good one, a slow one. And the proud owner of several shelter animals. The dog is also around somewhere. She is enjoying the quarantine like everyone else, because all of a sudden both the mommies are home full time. So that's a snapshot of what's going on in the Stair household today.
Okay, well that's a lot like just everybody else. We're just all at home in our home offices, or in some people at their dining room table, and etc.
Yep.
So let's talk about that. So the thing that's causing all of this, as everybody knows, is COVID-19, this pandemic. So I know that you have some thoughts on that you would like to share this morning, and I've been asking everybody to do so anyway. So would you take a few minutes and actually speak to COVID-19 and this pandemic in your district?
Yeah. So one of the things I want to do as senator is hopefully get into office, and very first thing would be, to stop the bleeding, to make sure people have jobs and food and shelter, and then immediately address some of the underlying issues that have brought us to this point and exacerbated it more than in other countries. And I want to honor the suffering by making sure that we're humble and wise, and that we learn something from this, so we never have to go through this again. And when I say that, I mean we have an opportunity to rebuild all these structures that are unraveling before our eyes, like healthcare and our economy, and our government and the way that we make decisions. And I think, in short, whether this pain that we're in is the pain of the tomb or the pain of the womb is really up to us, and really up to what senators we elect and what policies we try to take going forward.
Right.
I think it's a great silver lining for a huge paradigm shift, where we could really think about investing in people, because people are the originators of businesses and of profits and of wealth. And so I would want to start with the basics. My logo in the background is a little seed, because I work with a lot of ranchers, and the saying is, you don't cultivate crops, you cultivate soil. And if you have healthy soil, you can grow anything. So if you have healthy foundations with your people, you can grow anything. So that means things like universal health care, paid sick leave, a living wage for the people who are keeping us all living, rewarding businesses for shorter supply chains, bring manufacturing home, not big smoky manufacturing plants like in China that make one widget, but more like small flexible makers shops with 3D printers and downloadable crowdsourced designs, manufacturing antibiotics here and not in China, rewarding businesses for permitting work from home, because it's easier on some families, not everybody. Maybe saying, hey, business, before you go out of business and declare bankruptcy, allow the workers themselves, the waitresses or the bartenders, to collect and to purchase the business themselves as a co-op. And co-ops are proven to pay better, circulate money locally, be more creative and resilient, and strengthen communities. Imagine, like you and I were chatting earlier, imagine we regulate the internet more like a public utility to ensure that everyone has access to it for telemedicine and telehealth and all these innovations. Imagine a New Mexico state bank that helps keep our dollars here and circulate them round and round. So this is a COVID, if we make the right moves, can be an amazing potential, and we could come out of this stronger and better. But it really depends on what each of us decides to do, and frankly, who's in office.
Right. Yeah. And so when you're looking at COVID-19, then what you're doing is seeing this economic opportunity, which we can be using in order to strengthen the state as well, and perhaps get off of our reliance on the oil industry. And and actually that does make a lot of sense, that you could see that sort of thing happening if the right steps were taken. Another aspect of COVID-19 that is right on everybody's minds right now is healthcare. And it's been a topic of discussion a lot in New Mexico, and I would like to hear what your thoughts are on the state of healthcare in New Mexico.
Yeah, great question. And that's the other big doozy. Here in New Mexico, we're getting a double punch. We're getting an economic meltdown and a healthcare meltdown. Our current healthcare system delivers neither health nor care. It does deliver profit for a few, and it's trendy these days to say that healthcare is a human right. I actually go even before that and think that healthcare is even more fundamental than a human right. It's a necessity along the lines of food and water. For example, you can't exercise your First Amendment rights to free speech if you're lying in a hospital bed with a respirator breathing for you. And then if you look at it from also just a very mercenary business perspective, if you want to make money, you need a healthy economy. So in one way of looking at it, a healthy population is the primary underlying infrastructure of a strong economy, out of which arises jobs and wealth and all that. So the best way to produce a robust economy or a vibrant educational system is to first ensure a healthy population. And as we're seeing with COVID, everybody has to have access to health. Healthcare for you, Mad, helps keep me healthy, right? So you don't catch COVID. So therefore, I support universal healthcare coverage. There's no really easy way to do this. They all have pros and cons, the various plans, but I do support a public option. The likelihood of the feds moving at any rate is very slow. So therefore, I also support the New Mexico Health Security Act, which is state. And if I'm in office in January 2021, I can vote to cover all New Mexicans automatically from actually even before we're born, probably save money off the bat, make us all safer, healthier, and stronger. But either way, we shouldn't be profiting off of human bodies.
Okay, I've heard you speak to that a little bit before, and that is, I've been watching too as you're developing as a candidate, and it's pretty, great thoughts on there that align a lot with, I think, a lot of people in your district. You brought up the internet a couple of times and the idea of access to broadband, and let's turn right now to education, because I know that that's another topic that's right on the top of a lot of people's minds because of COVID, because their children, normally you would send your children off to school and they're at school, and you've put all that education on teachers. But in this case, the parents are getting firsthand seeing what's going on. And so education is now suddenly more on the front burner.
Yeah, great question. And as a former teacher, I have a firsthand experience with this. And I think we're also, if we agree to take it on, we can fundamentally change how we do education and improve it. In today's fast-moving world, I think our goal for teaching children should not be teaching them what to think, but teaching them how to think. And to do that, you really need to build a holistic web around every student that involves not just the teachers, but also making sure the students are in a position to learn. So they need to be safe and well fed. So that's nurses, social workers, counselors, strong arts, PE, so you can move your body. As an athlete, I can't focus if I haven't moved. Nutrition. And we need to adjust the curricula so that it can be slightly adaptable to the different and very beautiful, diverse communities that we have here in New Mexico. The way you do all of that is, yes, you need more funding, and more importantly, you need more stable funding. So as you know, right now, we basically pay for our children's education off of the very volatile oil and gas industry. That's, whether we like it or not, the bottom has dropped out of that industry and we don't have access to that anymore. So the long-term, not showy, hard way to do that is to diversify our economy and upgrade our tax structure, so we have more and more stable funding for our children's education. And then the last thing, two things, is also, as someone who manages budgets and has to come in on time and on budget all the time, just throwing money at the problem helps somewhat, but you can't manage what you don't measure. So we also have to put in money management and feedback systems that are designed in part by teachers and administrators themselves to check, are we getting the results that we think out of this education? And then, yes, part of it is, as we're all learning today, that internet and having equal access to internet is foundational as well. And I think we should have the conversation about possibly regulating broadband internet as a utility, both for education and also, for example, telehealth, which we're also discovering we really desperately need equal access to.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you know, living in a rural community and having very poor access to internet as I do, that is something that I know that a lot of New Mexicans really know that they need to have. Certainly better access to broadband and to the internet, but because right now, because their children are needing to use it, and
Yes.
We'll see what happens come the fall with education. I do know another topic that you're interested in is is public safety, and
Yes.
I would like to hear your thoughts on it.
Sure. So I'm probably the only candidate that's worked inside most of our jails and alongside nearly all of our police officers. In fact, I put Mel Gibson inside the Supermax Seg 4 up at MDC outside of Albuquerque. And I think we pulled him back out, but I can't remember. Anyway, crime is complex, and the roots of crime often start years before the act of crime itself. So expecting police to stop all crime is like expecting the emergency room to stop all disease. It doesn't address the root causes of the disease or of the crime. It's inefficient, it's expensive, and it's unfair to officers. And I've had them say that to me to my face. There's an opportunity there, though, which is, if you look at the root causes of crime, and I think there's 8, I'll go through them quickly. There's opportunities for us as a community to come in and help each other be safe and not be passive, but take an active role. And those 8 causes are kind of in order from furthest to before the moment of crime all the way up through the years to the moment of crime itself. So unsupported families and weak communities, unsupported schools and unsupported teachers, like we just talked about, a poor job market here in New Mexico, and sometimes poor job training, poor support for mental and behavioral health. We need both tougher sentencing and gentler sentencing, and I can explain that. There's very unproductive jail time. I've been in several of our jails and witnessed just the idle hours spent by inmates that could be put towards use of job training or rehab programs. Common sense gun reform, like the red flag law that just passed, and our undersupported police. So really a comprehensive approach to public safety involves addressing all 8 of those simultaneously and not just cherry picking one or the other and then wondering why crime doesn't decrease.
Right, and that's a discussion that we need to see happen on a larger platform. We're at the very end of the show, and I would like to give you 1 minute to directly address your constituency and appeal for their vote.
Yeah, so we're in this unprecedented time of COVID, and we have to resist the urge to just go exactly back to normal. And there's going to be a lot of pressure for us to do so because there's a lot of people who want to make a lot of money off of that. But that just leaves us vulnerable to a repeat. So what we can do is honor the suffering by being wise and being willing to learn some lessons and make some improvements going forward, so that instead of just going back to normal, we go forward to something better. But to do that, we need fresh thinkers. We need leaders from traditionally underrepresented backgrounds to take us forward to better.
Thank you so much for being here today. And thank all of you for coming here to view, and make sure that you click that subscribe button so that you don't miss any of these episodes and any of these important interviews with people like Rebecca Stair, who are running for office, political office, to represent you in your communities. And again, thank you so much for being here today.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time, Matt. And thank you to everybody for listening, and be safe out there.
Yeah. Thank you and goodbye.